Hello and welcome to the second season of The Social Economist. I'm your host Toby Gazeley, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this new, bigger, better, longer series that we're doing for you right now. There's going to be 9 episodes coming to you across October, November and December. First up is digitalisation. What does it really mean for the social economy and for social enterprises? In November, we're going to be talking about strategies to support social enterprises, particularly following on from the European Council's recommendation on improving social economy framework conditions. And of course, just before the end of the year, we want to bring you something very special, and that's a mini-series on social procurement. It's a big topic, but what does it really mean, and what opportunities does it bring for social enterprises? So I hope you're going to enjoy all of these mini-series, all 9 episodes, up until the end of the year. They'll be coming to you almost weekly, so do make sure to keep an eye on your feeds. I'm maybe showing my age, which is actually not true because I'm not that old, but I'm behaving like a boomer, which is not good. So I need to act my age and be a bit younger.
Yeah, you should at least pretend that you're younger.
Welcome to The Social Economist, your favorite social economy podcast. Of course, if there's a lot of other social economy podcasts, please do let us know, because I think we're working in quite a small market. This is our 3rd episode in the 2nd season of The Social Economist, and it's our last episode on digitalisation. Don't worry, there'll be more episodes to come on different topics next month. But for now, we're going to wrap up our mini-series on digitalisation by talking to a social entrepreneur from Latvia, Gustavs Upmanis, who I'm going to now mispronounce his social enterprise's name, is working at Visas Iespējas. I apologize, my Latvian is non-existent. Could you introduce yourself and your organization? Maybe tell us a bit about what you're doing.
Definitely. So I'm Gustavs Upmanis from Latvia, and I'm making a social enterprise called Visas Iespējas, which in Latvian means all opportunities. And for the past 5 years, we have made like a website which collects all youth opportunities available for Latvians with all youth organizations. So we are now quite well known in Latvia for that. And then also we are making trainings, speed dating events where companies can find candidates quickly in person, mentoring events. But now the main thing that I think I'm the most proud of is that last year we started this thing called MatchWork, which essentially is like a dating app for jobs, in which you can easily choose companies, swipe them, companies can swipe candidates, and then meet for like 5 to 15-minute interview, depending on the length that they want. And there is an algorithm which helps them to choose. So we try to make all of this experience of finding a job much less annoying to both sides, but especially to candidates, because often they're just scared of companies and scared of meeting them. And if you can immediately get to, meeting them in person, then it's much better.
Yeah, kind of like gamifying the employment market.
Exactly. So we have ideas of promotion that you can swipe it from your bed or sitting on the toilet. So it should be that simple to find a job. I'm not sure that everyone would agree, especially in professional setting. But well, if it works, it's not stupid.
How are you using these digital tools to make social impact in your work?
So obviously the main thing is that we are coding the solutions ourselves. So we have online website, we have this platform of MatchWork where people meet each other, all of that. So that's kind of the IT team, which is sitting just next to me. That's their work to kind of make these tools themselves. But it's really fun. We were trying to kind of condense the list of tools that we're using, subscriptions and all of that. And we had like 100 logins to check, like 50, 80, 100, something along those lines. And then we were thinking, okay, where can we try to, make cheaper subscriptions or yearly subscriptions, or to, completely get rid of something? Because we have like a lot of planning tools, communication tools, specific subscriptions. For instance, on our platform, if you want to get an interview, we have a outside service which allows booking your schedule, which usually people they're just like, oh yeah, this is integrated, but there's still like an outside kind of integration happening to our platform. So there's many of those like servers, emails, you name it. So it's a lot of things, and most of us work like at least half time remotely. So we are, I think, as digital as it gets in a
It
way.
sounds very yeah, sounds very techy. Were you very good at like digital with digital t technology and a digital native when you started
Well,
the
more or less. In
business?
a way, I always thought somewhat digitally, but I personally I don't know how to code, so I wasn't good enough to make tools myself. But I actually my master's is in business information management, so how to use IT for business purposes, mainly to run platforms and IT businesses, which is surprisingly relevant now looking back. But yeah, I just started also initially when starting my business, I just tried to build WordPress website myself and do some completely random apps that from Excel sheet make applications, fake it till you make it. And so I was good enough to fake it, not good enough to make it. So
Ah, okay. Well, that's the entrepreneurial mindset, I guess.
yeah, exactly, one step at a time.
Has your use of the digital technologies and tools changed then over the last few years as you've changed the way you're trying to run your business or how your business is growing?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of little things. I know that for IT people, it's always like, oh, they're updating this framework, so we really need to change things. But I think also on a day-to-day communication, you just see these nuances. For instance, I know a good example is Slack. We use Slack as a communication tool. We love it. It's nice. And then recently they introduced like to-do lists and Canvas, and we're like, oh yeah, this is nice as well. We can use that. So I think that a lot of solutions are growing and expanding. We also started using Canvas as like just a place where we can draw things. Then we started using some AI things in it because they implemented it. Obviously, our developers a couple of years ago started to use Copilot.
It sounds like you're very much dependent on all these digital tools. Uh,
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
scary at some points, but that's how we build our life. And then someone decides to change something or goes bankrupt, and we need to find a new solution which solves our problem. So
It sounds as if you're very confident with all these digital tools and quite familiar with them, but I'm guessing there are challenges also when it comes to using them.
definitely, definitely. Like and the funniest challenge is understanding how much resource are they actually going to take for you in short term and in long term. Because as our lead developer Agnes says, there's nothing you can't program. The question is only how long is it gonna take? And similarly with the use of technology, for instance, we do sales with automated emails.
Mm.
So we have this Excel sheet with specific lists of companies. We personalize the content based on what type of company they have, which areas of interest they are in. So they're really personalized emails for 300 companies. And then suddenly there's like 30 companies and you start to personalize. And at one point you're like, I'm trying to personalize too much. And 30 companies, honestly, I could have sent it by hand. And especially if you need to teach a new person, like we have a new salesperson now, like how to do that. And for instance, her Excel is not that good. So that again builds this friction where either you spend a lot of time upfront to teach person to do something or just tell them to do by hand. So I think most of the question is what is the setup cost and how hard it is to learn for someone else. Because if I'm an entrepreneur, I can do things by myself for a certain period of time, but at some point I will need to give away these responsibilities to others. And they do not necessarily have the technological understanding that I do.
Mm.
So these are the challenges that I face every day. Yeah. Besides, obviously, also them needing to get updated, etc., etc.
Well, that's a digital challenge in a way, I guess. It's also a non-digital challenge around skills and hiring and everything. And I mean, do you think that in general there's enough people with digital skills around, well, in Latvia in particular, to help
Well,
to be able to kind of grow your business and find the right people?
you can find specialists for anything. We
Mm.
are making a dashboard in Power BI to look at our results at the moment. And I have a friend who can make these dashboards. And so that is nice, and you can always find a specialist. The question is how cheap or expensive they are, but you can find someone. However, on the other hand, even though we work with young, very digital people on our side, especially with clients, it's sometimes less so. And even our platform, which is not difficult, they need help and guiding by hand. But yeah, even with these people, sometimes they slightly lack these technological skills. And the question is just how much do you expect? Because we obviously expect that people know how to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, like Google services, something like that. At least like in this my like 30 plus minus 10 years category and Zoom calls and everything. But then the question is like if we have these like dashboards like they need to use them. How are they going to use it?
Mm.
Like how complicated it's going to be. So the most improvement can be done in little things.
Mm.
I have literally given talks to NGOs about how to use little things in their daily situations. For instance, it's called Ditto, but essentially it's a clipboard which saves all the things that you copy when you want to copy paste. You just copy things and it saves it in the computer. And what happens is, firstly, if you need to copy several things like account number, something, 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 you copy and then you paste it one after another. But second thing is also, for instance, our registration number. I don't know it by hand, but I know that with 3 clicks I can find it because I know the beginning of it. So these random information snippets that in the last month I have accessed, I can easily access through that thing. And this is like a tiny, tiny thing which I'm not even paying attention to. And it just helps me a ton on a day-to-day basis.
It's very clever. Yeah, I mean, I'm always going and looking for the same information usually, so you can understand how this would save someone time.
Yeah.
I,
And
especially, I think if there's something similar for downloading the same articles from the internet, that would also be helpful because I realize I've downloaded the same report so many times that you have like 11 next to it when you download it now because it's already on your computer somewhere, but
exactly, exactly. So and there are solutions for all of this. But the
ah,
question is, yeah, like one is, do you know about them? And second is, how effectively can you actually use them?
so that's obviously a big topic at the moment, and everyone seems to think AI will solve everyone's problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
how important is
Well,
it for you to be using AI and yeah, is it really going to make everything much easier for you?
well, I think it really depends. I think it's been used as too much of a silver bullet, where
Mm.
literally everyone from like our marketing to sales to customer support, they're like, oh yeah, we should try this new thing. And we're like, is it really worth it? But there are some cases where it's super beneficial, like IT people, programmers, with this Copilot, literally they're saving like 15% of their energy, like their time spent because they can ask some additional code and things. So that's one definite use case. Then I have a lot of discussions with people who are writing projects or evaluating projects or evaluating applications because a lot of people use it for writing content, but obviously often it is suboptimal and generic because that is what, AI writes. Um, so I'm currently more skeptical of that content than most of the people. Then again, which I'm definitely for is if you use it as a help. And I think that's the main and currently also mainstream um, idea that if you use it as a helper, as your kind of educated intern who can search things up very quickly, then it's good. And then, yeah, I know that you can put like articles there and ask them to summarize, etc. Like I've done that, and that's nice. And then you can, immediately work with information. But I don't think, at least at the moment, that it's it has reached the expectations that everyone had like a year ago.
It's interesting. I'm also kind of skeptical about AI, and I haven't actually used ChatGPT yet. So it just seems like too much effort to work out how to use it. So
Well, honestly, I think at some point you will have to use it. At
I'm
some point, when all the other world is getting better and using it more, you will start to use it as well. And in that sense, it's better to test these things out while it's early, while you still can comprehend what's happening, and yeah, without losing the edge.
Do you feel that there's a lot of support from the ecosystem in Latvia to help social enterprises use digital tools, both from like ecosystem actors, but also from the government and political support as well?
Yeah, I think like in general in Latvia, there's quite good support systems for many things, and in theory also for digital solutions. But the problem is that often if they come top down,
Mm.
then applying for like 5,000 euro grant to get some technologies started and to innovate something together with, just to set things up for such a small company, it's a lot of paperwork and the benefit is marginal.
Mm.
So unless you apply for large grants for manufacturing or something, then it gets really tough. I think that currently we are lacking a bit of help in these micro supports, like, helping with a couple of €100 there without much paperwork, a couple of €100 there, especially on the digitalization side. Because is the solution, for instance, which helps you map your digital competencies and then understand how to move forward with it. But honestly, people who are scared of IT, they don't want to have a map of IT. And people who are not scared of IT feel like they're good enough without this. So
Mm.
it kind of leaves this dead man's zone where, yeah, there's no one literally there. But at least someone is trying, and that's definitely good.
Coming towards the end of my thinking and questions, what would your advice be then to someone who is thinking about using digital technologies? Where should they start, and what should be their, you know, priority when trying to embrace these new technologies?
Yeah, I think first is to understand what type of problem are they actually solving. Well, if it's something that everyone is using, like I know my mother had problems with WhatsApp. She's 65, so I helped her to do that. And well, she needs to have it, because she has business communication now on WhatsApp. That's where the world has moved. And so if there are things which have to be done, do it as quickly as possible. If there are things which are niceties, then yeah, understand what is the real problem that you're solving, whether you actually need it. And if you need it, try to learn a bit more about it. Try to drive your curiosity, whether it actually helps. Because yeah, if you use basic things, it could be that just like 3 buttons away, there is this magnificent thing that you haven't thought of, and it's just, making your life so much easier. Actually, I know what's the most important thing for like any organization or something. I think it's important that you try not to do it top down,
Mm.
because technology is as good as people are using it. And you can tell people that, oh, from now on, we will use Microsoft Teams or whatever. But if people keep on doing things the same old ways, then it's just going to be an annoyance to you, to them, to everyone. So I think before adapting new technology in an organizational level, it is very important to actually have everyone on board and get acceptance from everyone. I think that's the key takeaway.
I think maybe the most important question is whether or not there's a podcast which you would recommend to listen to from your experience, not necessarily about social enterprises or digitalization, but just a podcast you really like.
Oh yeah, nice. I can recommend 3 very
Okay,
quickly.
good, go for
So
it.
one of them is people I mostly admire. It's interviewing very well-regarded people from all around the world and spectrums.
Okay.
Uh, Another one is Rethink and Work Life from Adam Grant. He's organizational psychologist, and he kind of tackles the questions of, for instance, working remotely, whether it's useful or not, how to balance work-life balance, etc., etc. So that's nice. And third, it's really kind of strange. It's Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, and it's much more about understanding on our humanness and how we are in this world. And I have a likewise similar question to you, not about podcasts, but considering that we talk about the technology, what are the three one tool that you would recommend for people?
Oh,
Because I already blurbed mine out.
yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I'm actually one of those terrible people who still makes notes on paper. And so I guess my one advice would be don't make notes on paper because you always end up losing it or leaving it in the wrong place and you never find what you're supposed to be doing. So on that same note, I guess Todoist is quite a good application to actually try and solve that problem and keep your to-do list on in one place. And then it's quite nice because you can integrate it with your calendar, also with on your computer, so you can easily add things to do. I mean, it will remind you to do it at certain points as well. So that's quite nice.
Nice.
And the other thing which I really we use a lot at Euclid is Qualtrics, which is a survey platform,
Oh, yes.
which is quite a difficult tool to use at the beginning. But once you get a bit used to it and learn how the logic works of the platform, it's very nice because you realize there's a lot of integrations and automations, and you can actually collect data in quite a structured way. And so, as well as just collecting information from people all the time in a certain, it's sort of more random, unstructured ways, I think I always find now using a survey kind of platform to collect data in a very structured way helps collect data which can then be stored more easily,
Analyzed.
changed and used more easily between different people for different purposes. So that's very boring, but I'm trying to really change the way I work to
Nice.
collect data in a different way.
Yeah, I think for institutions, researchers, all of that, that's like super beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's called knowledge management, which is something I clearly don't know very much about, but I'm very curious.
Nice.
I mean, I think it's really been an interesting conversation, and I think it's very nice to hear a bit more practically about, actually the work life lots of people are having and the way that digital tools can be not just a pain, but also help. Because I
Exactly.
think it's very easy, like you say, if things are introduced without consultation, without properly thinking it through, it just becomes worse for everybody. And
Exactly.
that's
And
not ideal.
if I can say one last thing, I think what also happened during COVID is that a lot of people they tried to replicate real life on digital. So they always got worse version of their real life interactions, whether it's online meetings, games, whatever, like social events or chatting or something. And I think that, yeah, if there is a new mindset that, how you can use these parallel things while we are now talking, we actually can have chat as well. So there's additional kind of dimension to our conversation. We can use filters to our faces in case we want to have more party feeling, or we can, I don't know, share screens, which were previously much harder actually. So whenever we have screen sharing thing, we don't go to large computer. We literally sit at our own computers. So I think once you start thinking this fundamental shift towards digital can be helpful, and that you need to look at it differently than just changing the real life. Same as we're doing with this MatchWork platform. We previously thought that, oh, people meet and speed date and interview in person, but it's annoying to travel there, everything, so they can do it online. So the same way we are trying, to just completely change the paradigm on how to interact based on the online interaction.
Next week, we're taking a break, but after that, we'll be returning on the 13th of November with an episode on the European Council recommendation on social economy framework conditions. Yes, It's exactly as exciting as it sounds. And we're going to be talking with Mia Rossi-Gray from DG Employment at the European Commission, who was very involved in drafting this recommendation as the European Commission. We're really excited for this next series, as it's going to be focusing all about strategies to support social enterprises and social entrepreneurs. These are really key topics at the moment, and it's such an important time also because it's 1 year since the Council recommendation was passed. So this is a great time to be looking back, but also looking forward at what comes next. I'd like to thank Gustavs for his time to speak to me this episode, but also, of course, Carol and John for speaking to me earlier this mini-series. Thank you again to Jan Kishivara for producing this podcast. Thank you again to the European Commission for making this possible. We will be back on the 13th of November. Until then, thank you for listening to The Social Economist. Goodbye.